The Strangers, Chapter 3, is a not so good final chapter in this series, in this franchise, and it comes in at a shocking 18% on the tomato meter. Indeed, The Strangers, Chapter 3, is concluding events in the series. The most brutal chapter, Maya collides with the masked killers and finds the only way out of the nightmare is in. In. What are you talking about? Yeah, sadly, in this movie, they take it to some fairly audacious places. Uh, you got to realize here that you can't really watch this movie without knowing what happened in chapters one. And now that you think about it, you don't really need to know what happened in chapter two, because in hindsight, not a lot of anything of substance happened in chapter two. It was just her running through the woods, and then you're like, halfway watching through this one, you're like, this should have been happening in the second chapter. Like, there's some interesting ideas, but it's just like flat. It's completely deflated. It's like there's nothing about it that makes you want to go, oh man, this is some groundbreaking storytelling here. Madeline Petch is still the standout. She was the best part of part one. I thought she was giving her best effort to the weakest script ever in chapter two. But I got to tell you, she's going to be a big star. She's got that power where wherever she's doing on the screen, you are locked in. The problem is that the script in the movie sucks. The Strangers, chapter 3. Does it give you satisfying answers? Yeah, well, if there was an arc here, it does close off those story elements. It's just kind of like, guys, did we ever really want to know the background for the strangers, where they came from, who are their parents, are they having daddy issues? And you kind of get that in this, where it's kind of like, well, the creep factor is not there anymore. I'm not really scared from these characters because we're kind of like watching what makes them tick, and it kind of undermines the entire premise of what the strangers was that they are just killers because they like to kill and they don't care who they're killing. But you're trying to add in all these reasons for things to happen, and it may work for some newbie horror fans out there who are not well established in the lore of what horror movies are just yet. But if you are a horror aficionado, then you've seen all of this stuff before. And it's just the best thing that has probably got going for it is the runtime at an hour. I think it's just about an hour and 23 minutes or something like that. And it's just so mind-numbingly stupid. Like, yeah. So with that being said, let's not linger. Let's go over to the score sheet and start filling in some numbers here for acting, directing, and story, cinematography, and score. Acting and directing and story are out of a possible 2 points each. Cinematography and score, 1 point. Acting, I'm going to give Madeline Petch here pretty much all the points because she's the one carrying this. The sheriff Richard Brake shows up, but even that is just so flat, and it's just like, you got Richard Brake, use him, let him sink his teeth into the character and add a little bit of a spin to it. I know he can. We know that he can if you've seen him work with Rob Zombie at all. Directing, this Rennie Harlan, it's framed well. You can see things even when it's dark. A lot of this movie is filmed in the dark. So like that aspect of knowing your aspect ratios and all that kind of stuff, it doesn't look grainy or anything like that. But that's a style choice. But the story just sucks. It's just, oh God. And the execution of that story is like, you're wanting the big payoffs now in chapter 3 here, right? And while it gives you answers, it's kind of like you really felt like you needed to divvy up this story into 3 chapters. And the most interesting stuff is sort of happening in this one, which should have been in number 2. And now we continue with her in the third one to try to reconcile all of the trauma that has happened to her. But they don't do that. So for this, I got to say that the story is also a 0.5 because it's so dependent on you knowing what happened in chapter 1 and 2. I don't think anybody could sit into this and be like, oh, I know what's going on. No. You need to know the events. Cinematography and score are serviceable. So we're sitting at a 3 out of 10 right now for The Strangers, uh, chapter 3. Let's go over to the tomato meter again here and take a look at the 18%. Ah, yeah, not good, guys. In the final film of the Strangers trilogy, Maya, see, I don't even remember the character's name in it. I've seen 3 of these already. Maya, I call her Madeline, right? Because that's the actress's name, faces the masked killers one last time in a brutal full circle reckoning of survival. Guardian says 2 out of 5. The 2008 original will probably endure as a solid sleepover ready example of American ordeal cinema. But this final chapter, like its immediate predecessor, falls somewhere between footnote and, well, obviously they're not liking it, right? Variety says it stretches material that wouldn't overfill 90 minutes to 44.5 hours, arriving at no worthy destination and conveying scant excitement en route. It aims low and still bunts. Yeah, see, they're trying to be funny with these, but it's just, you get the impression here that it's not very good. Bloody disgusting. Their whole forte is horror, so they should have some good grasp of these concepts. This misfire instead leaves you repeating the original film's question: why are you doing this to us? Uh, there was maybe a little bit of an attempt there for redemption with the main guy, but it was just no. And they give it a 1.5. Um, no, not buying it. So somebody who did like it, but why though? A Greek community says The Strangers Chapter 3 suffers from once again feeling like a piece of a bigger movie. Sure. What's different this time around is that it's plenty compelling on its own, even in its fragmented form. It's fragmented, yeah, because they try to introduce exterior characters in this one now that just don't like don't become relevant to the plot at all. Like it was, as I said, it's got some interesting ideas in here by adding in some family members, but it's just you don't they don't do anything. It doesn't culminate to anything. Thaddeus Thomas says Strangers 3 was decent. Definitely watch the first 2 to really understand the story. That echoes what I was saying. It does go by pretty quick, I will say. Let's take a look at a fan who didn't like it because we need some more context. Killing scenes were not that bloody. Yeah, it wasn't that scary. So, Jared, this third chapter totally wasted the time of any moviegoer who went through the first 2 chapters of this 3-part intro verse to these characters. Intro verse. Is that supposed to be intro verse? It was almost interesting, and in the end, and pivot off to what happened with Scott Speedman and Liv Tyler. No, see, that would have been interesting if you somehow teed this up for them to go off and you saw like uh, versions of Scott Speedman and Liv Tyler. Like that would have been interesting, but no, that would have been fan service and not really all that relevant. You guys, yeah, you get the impression here. It's not all that good, right? Like the fan score, I think is probably going to be around the 50s, maybe even a little bit lower, 18%. It is a it's a bit of a teeth pulling kind of thing where it's just like, okay, at least this is going to be the last time that we have to endure this, right? Let's see if there's anybody else of note here. Matt Donato says 0.5 out of 5. It's so bad that Bertino should be able to sue for damages for the stranger's reputation. So he's the creator of the first one, right? Yeah, man, I got to agree with that. It's not good. Like, and some of the things that they were trying to do, like, they have the brazen audacity to suggest that maybe, maybe she might begin to turn and sympathize with the killer and become one of them. It's just like, ugh. It's just it's like, okay, maybe that could have been a great idea if you had established something like that in the first couple of chapters, but it just comes out of complete nowhere, where it's like, well, you've taken everything from me, and now I might have to kill too. It's just like, no, no, this is stupid. This is dumb. How dare you insult my intelligence? It's over now, right? It's over. So that you got my impressions here. Let's wrap up the score sheet for The Strangers, Chapter 3. Watchability is out of possible 2 points. If you watch the first chapters and you are curious about it, I would say okay, but wait for streaming. Don't pay money in the theater to watch this. Uh, and if you just out of morbid curiosity are a horror fan and they're just like, okay, well, I want to see how they're going to try to explain the motivations of these characters. It sucks. 4 out of 10. It sucks because it's not a very good movie, but it's got components in there because of Madeline Petch. The idea of what The Strangers was. It's just, I don't like Rennie Harlan and whoever was the producers of these films. You gave millions of dollars for this garbage. Uh, I've got story ideas that are 10 times better than this. Take my treatment, run with it, and you'll, trust me, you'll make money. But James, why don't you make your money? Make it yourself then. If it's so easy, well, maybe I will when AI is able to let me make my movies all on my own computer. And we're getting there, guys. We are getting there, so we don't have to put up with any more of this BS. All right, what do you guys think? Let me know in the comments below if you've seen The Strangers Chapter 3. Hey, if you like this kind of thing, we also are going to be reviewing Whistle with Daphne Keane, a death whistle that brings death stalking you. Right here on Mirror Domains.